Karl has questions for the alt-right. I really appreciate this. Also, I have to admit, these are very good questions. The alt-right has to talk about this stuff and should indeed come up with some good and coherent concepts. Since I consider myself as alt-right and good in making concepts, I feel inspired to answer his questions as good as I can. Before I do so, I wish to give a short introduction. The most prevalent question is probably, how does someone become alt-right? Well, let me put it this way. If you have some kind of red pill moment, you will start to tumble down the rabbit hole. And if you don't stop this process intentionally by running away, you will sooner or later reach the bottom. There you will find two things: the concept of group and territory and the patriarchy. This will most likely leave you with the impression you just turned into an extremist. This is a false impression. In reality, the patriarchy and the concept of group and territory used to be mandatory for thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, probably even millions. In other words, this flimsy newish idea it could suddenly work without is the real extremism. Once you committed yourself to this truth, you might feel troubled. Look at Mouthy Buddha and Kraut to get an impression how troubled some people are in this moment. Here I wish to offer two pieces of advice. First, accept your trouble. Little boys tend to say, "I will become a firefighter when I'm grown." No little boy ever said, "I will become a neo-Nazi when I'm grown." If you don't feel troubled, you probably lost your decency years ago. Second, your feelings should tell you one thing. Obviously, it is less important what to make out of this. Instead, the real challenge is what not to make out of it. In other words, if you convert to the alt-right, try to gain some clarity about concepts, behaviors, and policies you will not support. Create a blacklist according to your morality and ethic. Something like, don't use gas chambers. Don't incarcerate people who are not criminals. Prefer deportation over genocide. Don't try to breed all beautiful people if you use eugenics. Don't let your state become a pathological monster. Create proper counter-white. Don't apply force and punishment to your people to enforce social policy, but don't reward unwanted behavior either, etc. The last two are very important. Collectivist movements like the alt-right have a strong tendency to create pathological states. Counter-white for balance is very important. And the no force, no punishment rule is also very important because it applies to many of Karl's questions. The last point I wish to make in my introduction is the following. Progress is the only certainty in this world. I'm aware there is no way to turn back the wheel of time. Thus, I would define our mission statement as follows. It is our task to invent and implement new and better versions of old solutions for common human problems.